Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
There is good, if not excellent, if not amazing money in politics. Good money. Low expectations of productivity. Small amounts of accountability. This was my main takeaway from the breaking news that Paul Ryan was bailing. Now, look, there's all these different theories about why Paul Ryan is leaving. Some people say he's leaving because he's going to take a run at being president in 2020. Some people say he's leaving because he's looking at a potential loss of the House of Representatives to Democrats in the fall. But bottom line is, he will not seek re-election in November. His reason for it is he wants to spend more time with his kids. Now, I think there's also another possibility. He's kind of like Ted Cruz in that his word is his bond. He holds himself or presents himself as someone who holds themselves up to a very high standard of integrity. Unimpeachably moralistic in his own mind. That's kind of his brand. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying that's a thing. I'm not saying that you should think that's a thing. I'm just saying that's kind of his shtick. And my theory is that he might know something coming down the pike that he wants to distance himself from. But the bottom line is he's bailing. He announced his quote-unquote retirement so he could spend more time with his family. He is leaving Congress rather than presiding over a pretty slim Republican majority. And I don't think he has any interest in being a minority leader. There's not a ton of glory involved in that. Although I got to tell you, being in the minority, oh man, doesn't matter which political side of the fence you're on, people love the position of an underdog. You can lose all the time and still kind of maintain the moral high ground among your supporters. Here I am, fighting the good fight. We're outnumbered, but we're right. So I think he's missing that opportunity. But the thing that makes me go, what the hell is going on around here, is the fact that he can retire. He's 48 years old. Travis, do you expect to be able to retire by the age of 48?
I don't expect to be able to retire by the age of 88.
Right. So bottom line is, look, I know there's going to be lots of people say he married into money. He inherited stuff. He got I think it was $1.5 or $2 million, somewhere in that neighborhood when he got married. And I think his wife inherited a bunch of cash. But his net worth is estimated to be at around $8 or $9 million. And here's the thing, there's levels of transparency involved in government. So when people say he's worth somewhere between $8 and $9 million, that's probably, well, if it's inaccurate, that means it's the tip of the freaking iceberg and they're keeping the rest sequestered away from the public. But how much money does Speaker of the House get paid, Travis?
It's like just under $225 a year.
Oh, well, if you inherit like $3 million or $1.5 to $2 million, and you got 3 kids are expensive last time I checked. Boy, it's not cheap raising kids up. But if you inherit, if you're lucky enough to, inherit $2 million, that's really something. But if you're only making like $225 a year and all of a sudden you've got like $8-9 million bucks in the bank. Well, like I said, there's good money in politics. Now, I don't know where this comes from. I would hazard a guess that he, like many politicians, gets paid fantastic amounts of cash to speak. And I would imagine that little Eddie Munster face of his is something that commands a significantly higher salary for speaking engagements than it did in the past. Now he's Speaker of the House. And that's what galls me. Everybody's all upset. People are screaming and yelling about who's going to be the next Speaker of the House, who's going to have the majority. But I'm sitting there scratching my head going, why the hell does this guy have so much cash? Why does this guy, technically our employee, have the ability to retire at age 48 to just check out and spend more time with his kids when he's been living off of our tax dollars? I think that's the main thing that irks me about the situation, is that it paints such a clear disparity between the level of opportunity afforded to the people that technically work for us than us. It's the strangest thing in the world. We pay their salaries, yet they seem to make the rules and they seem to profit off of it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of political implications, whether it's left or right thinking stuff to be taken from this, and maybe we'll delve into that a little bit. But to me, this is a reminder. Doesn't matter which side you're on. This is a reminder to stay angry and hold people accountable, because something about it just smells wrong.
Real radio.
104.1. Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So if you are just joining us, I am struck today by what great money there appears to be in politics. Great money, low expectations of productivity, small amounts of accountability. And this all sort of bubbled up in my little lizard brain today, because I was like, how in the hell does Paul Ryan have enough cash in the bank to retire at the age of 48 so he could just check the hell out of a job that he urged you to vote him in for, if you're one of the folks that voted for him, saying he was the man who had your back. He was the man who was going to serve the public. He was the man who was going to go, this isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'm just going to go home and enjoy my bucks. I just went, how's a 48-year-old with 3 kids that gets paid $225 a year, even if he did inherit $1.5 to $2 million from his wife's family, how is that guy retiring? And it made me think politicians who, again, it seems so strange to say this because they make the rules, but politicians who are our employees, who live off of the money that we pay them every April, if you're like me, you're about to get bent over by Uncle Scam to the tune of something outrageously painful. And it's useful to remember these people worked for us. Their lives, their lifestyles, their early retirement lifestyles come from our blood, sweat, and tears. And it really makes me think politicians should be paid like teachers. They should be paid like teachers. Pay politicians little enough to where they've really got to be passionate about the calling of serving the public. For the record, I think teachers should be paid entirely more. But right now, they're not. And right now, that means if you're going to be a teacher and if you're going to stick with teaching, then you are genuinely passionate about education. You definitely feel like you have something to give, and you want to give it, and you want to give back, and you want to help the youth of today become the people of tomorrow. It's a calling. And I think politicians should have the same calling. I think the way that we should prove that they have the same calling is they've got to be passionate enough to work for next to no money. I mean, look, they already get a break on housing and transportation and personal security. All of the above. No politician with a bunch of kids should have cash to retire at age 48. That's not an option for someone who serves the public. That's the action of someone who built the public. That's the action of someone who's been on a freaking book tour and ups his profile so he can take part in the cash grab of speaking publicly. So people scream and yell about who's going to be the next Speaker of the House. People are talking about who's going to have the majority. Whether or not Paul Ryan's going to be running for president. But the real question that you, me, that all of us should be asking ourselves is, how does a public servant with 3 kids have the money to quit working until the end of his life when the rest of us are scrambling to make it to the end of the month? And I think that's all I have to say about that. Travis, do you think he's going to run for president?
I don't think so. I could be very wrong on this, but I don't think that Paul Ryan looks in the mirror and thinks, you are a popular guy. Like, I don't like him. I don't know too many people who do like him. And I think that he knows that he's not a popular guy. I think he knows that people don't generally like him. Now, I could be wrong. And maybe he actually doesn't know that people don't like him. But
oh, I don't know. Anyone that has the cojones, anyone that has the necessary cojones to stay the course after those pictures of him working out were made public.
Oh my God.
Has to have a picture of himself painted in his mind that's pretty far removed from reality.
You're right about that. Those pictures are.
I almost feel like Paul Ryan becoming Speaker of the House after those pictures were made public. It's kind of an impressive thing. It's sort of like people that walk through life with weight belts on because it makes them stronger. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or like those ankle weights on. Like when I take the ankle weights off, it feels like I'm walking on air. Like those gym pictures were Paul Ryan's political ankle weights, and you know what? He still got around with them on. Good for him.
It'll be interesting to see if he does. I don't think he will. I think we've seen the end of his political career.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that likes him. I myself don't have that big of a problem with him, but all my Republican buddies think he's not nearly Republican enough, and all my lefty buddies think that he's just like the shiestiest person on the face of the planet. So like, I don't know. You're right. I've never heard anybody say anything all that great about Paul Ryan.
No.
No. Except for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is all in favor of Paul Ryan.
Wow.
He said, Speaker Paul Ryan is a truly good man, and while he will not be seeking re-election, he will leave with a legacy of achievement that nobody can question. And Trump's way, and this was in a tweet, Trump's way, I think, of saying, hey, don't let the door split you. Don't hit you where the good Lord split you on your way out. Was saying, we are with you, Paul. We are with you.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that Trump just doesn't want to, when somebody's already leaving and you're happy they're leaving, you don't want to mess it up.
Right.
They're doing all the work for you. Just let it happen. That's all you have to do. I think he understands that.
Cheery bye. Bye-bye now. Oh, which part did you not understand? Was it the bye-bye or was it the now? Best SNL sketch ever. Money making, skills on the mic, keep me paid every day, and I'm out of the battle, just bow down, better act like you know.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on. Come on.
So the bad news is we're all about to get roughly bent over fiscally by Uncle Scam. Taxes are due on April 17th this year, which is coming Tuesday. If that's news to you, it might be time to panic or just file an extension. The good news is your chances of being audited are the lowest that they've been in a really long time, like 15 years. That's good news, right, Travis?
That's great news.
For other people, because you've been audited. What's that
not
like?
Me. Man, it sucks. It really sucks. And I'll tell you, I have been audited only once. Hopefully it stays only once. I was raised with this deep respect for the IRS. And like my parents always told me.
Was it a fear-based respect?
Yeah. It was like a whole lot of fear. Like, don't mess with these people. Like, they'll take everything that you own and they don't care. And I was like, okay, yeah, I got it. They're like, it's not worth it. Just give them what they want. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're right.
I'm really actually very interested. I've never talked to anybody that's actually been through an audit. So I'm very curious to get into the mechanics of that, like how it went down and what sort of things happened to you. But first, here's Jerry Seinfeld summing up what it's like to go through an audit himself.
I have been through an audit. At first I thought, well, IRS kind of sounds like Toys R Us. Maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe they have a sense of fun about it, But it's bad. It's an ordeal, and they don't do anything to keep your spirits up through the ordeal. I think they should take all your receipts and put them in one of those big Lucite sweepstake drums and just kind of crank it around there. Give you a feeling like you might win something. You know what I mean? Then they can pull them out one by one and go, oh, I'm sorry, that's another illegal deduction. But we do have some lovely parting gifts for you. Jail.
Was that what it was like for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
Did they threaten jail?
They did not. So it was, and this is going to sound like a cop-out, and I'm sure everybody in the world who's been audited has some sort of explanation. I actually really was innocent, and innocent only goes so far in a sense. So I used this tax guy who I had been told, I was working for the railroad, and I had been told, oh yeah, when you work.
Oh, so this is really recently.
Yeah, this was 2000. So it was, I got audited last year for 2014.
Okay.
And the deal was, when I was working for the railroad, like everybody who was at the railroad that I knew was using the same tax guy. And they're like, oh yeah, there's all these deductions for railroad stuff. You can deduct,
That was going to be my next question. Like, why do railroad folks have a specific tax guy? Are you like, when you get paid by the railroad, are you an independent contractor? How does that?
No.
You're just normal, an employee.
Normal employee, but like it was, as it was explained to me, and it may not have been explained to me correctly, which may have been what led to an audit. But I was told, because like you would often work, if you worked road trains, you'd be out of town for, you'd take a train out of town, stay the night out of town, and then bring a train back. So a lot of the time you were out of town. So like you could claim certain things out of town, like I don't even know how it worked, but so like they would ask for all your train slips and stuff, so they could figure out how many days you were out of town and how many days you were in town. All this stuff. Don't get me wrong. I don't know how to figure my taxes at a normal job, much less with a job like this. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah, I'll go to this guy. So I go, and he seems legit, seems like a real good guy. Files my taxes. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that was the first year. So that was like 2013. So all of a sudden 2014 rolls around, and he does those as well. And I actually may have the years wrong. I think maybe the 2014 was fine, and then 2015 is the year I got audited. So the next year I call and try and make an appointment, and they're like, oh, he's booked, but if you send us all your paperwork, we can prepare it, and then we can schedule an appointment with you to go over it and get you to sign all the paperwork. And I'm like, yeah,
pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, that sounds great. So I send them all my stuff, and I get a call from them like a few weeks later, and they're like, hey, everything's done and filed. We just need to get payment. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. How do you want me? You want me to come in, or you want me to do it when I have my appointment? And they're like, oh, we can just take a credit card over the phone. And I'm like, okay. So I pay over the phone. And I'm like, so when do I do my appointment? And they're like, oh, it's not even necessary. We took care of it. And I'm like, oh.
I don't have to sign anything?
I don't need to sign anything. No, no, we took care of it. You don't need to do anything. I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah, you should be seeing your refund in, 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay. Sounds fair enough. Again,
all right, question for you. Do you get a refund check? Like, this is when
direct
you're
deposit.
Not going through the direct deposit. Yeah. How much does that give you a screaming heebie-jeebies? Like,
I know.
The government has everything it takes to put money directly into your bank account, which means, ipso facto, if they're in need of a couple dollars.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, I'm not trying to, somehow signify that I'm not responsible for my taxes, because I am. These were red flags that brought up questions when they happened, and I should have questioned them more or talked to the IRS about them, because I was like,
well, that's why you spend money on a tax professional.
Exactly.
It's just like, hey, he's qualified. He's a tax professional. He's been vetted by the government to do this. Therefore, you should be able to place your trust in him.
Exactly.
They were the ones that took care of going, this guy's okay to do people's taxes. Yes, we give this our governmental seal of approval.
Exactly. So it turns out this guy may not have been so honest, because...
not on the up and up.
No, because now he's...
You would have thought our government would have caught that.
Well, they caught it.
But no, they came after you instead.
They came after both of
us.
He was indicted on 15 counts of tax fraud, and I believe he's in federal prison.
Travis, no. 15 counts, and he was... I was going to be like, what's this guy doing now? Not still practicing. No, he's in a little room with bars, thinking about what a naughty boy he's been, and that's been very naughty.
I believe he is. So... if he's not, he's going through the process. But it's not a good look for him right now. They sent me a letter and they're like, hey, buddy, check it out. It's a surprise. It's an audit by mail. And we have a question about this portion of your taxes. We're trying to figure out. And keep in mind, again, I should have known better. I haven't even seen my taxes because I never signed them.
Do them. You didn't sign them. You don't know what they look like. You're unaware.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh.
You put your trust in somebody that the government approved of, but go on. I'll keep pointing that out for the obvious reason.
Right. So I call a friend of mine who at the time I was not friends with, and now I am, and she does taxes. And I was like, hey, I got some serious problems. And she's like, what's up? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting audited. She's like, okay, bring me all your stuff. So I take it to her, and she's looking at it, and she's like, okay, what were your write-offs? And I'm like, what are write-offs? And she's like, what are your business expenses? And I'm like, I don't think I have any. And she's like, what about your donations? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't make any. Contributions, yeah. She's like, well, he claimed like $30,000 of write-offs.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
My tax guy, he's always just like, you're an entertainer. There's more that you could be writing off. I'm like, nope, bare ass minimum. I don't want to no, thank you. It's not worth it to me to save an extra $25 on whatever to no, thank you. $30,000 in deductions.
Oh my God, man, I don't even know. And so I'm like, so she's like, does any of this make any sense to you? And I'm like, look, if I knew anything about taxes, I wouldn't be paying somebody to do them. And she's like, no, I understand. She's like, but we have to try and clean this up. So I called the IRS and I'm like, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have nothing to hide here. I said, this is the guy, he's been indicted on tax fraud. I said, he claimed all this stuff. I said, it's not true. I said, I don't know what to do here. And they're like, oh, okay. They're like, well, we're going to send you, you can either redo the paperwork or we're going to send you a proposal on how we think it should have been done. And I said, send it. Send it and I will pay you whatever you want. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, this is a terrible mistake. I said, I'm...
How much did they want?
It was like, they wanted and again, I got off very easy. They wanted $8,000, which isn't that bad. But, it hurts.
But this was just based on, did you had you gotten money back when they asked you for $8,000?
Yeah,
okay, so they were so you got over $8,000 back, and they just asked for $8,000.
I think I pretty much got $8,000 back, and they were like, "Give us our money back," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, totally cool. I'll tell me where to send the check." Yeah. So it's terrible. I mean, it sucks.
They're like, well, your guy lied, but when we do the figures, you get back nothing.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh my God, I'm just so glad I'm not going to jail. I'll put up with more of this theft that is taxation.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, and so a lot of that is interest due because he lied, and a lot of it is penalties because he lied.
Fees, interest due, which honestly, they make credit card fees look like child's play. And exactly. I know this because I had my own run-in with the IRS. I was never audited. I was just told what the hell I owed, and I was like, yeah. How did this and basically it was like the fiscal equivalent of we're coming over to break your knees. We're going to take everything in your home. I got this letter. We're going to take everything in your home. We're going to garnish your wages. We're going to leave you with nothing except for one chair to sit on. That was the actual language that the IRS used when they told me they were coming after me. Meanwhile, I didn't have an accountant that was indicted, but this goes back to when I was a kid in a band and we had the biggest and best of everything. Biggest tour bus, biggest manager, biggest tour manager, biggest accountant. And when you get the biggest accountant, but you're not earning big money, guess guess what he's more concerned with? His other clients, like, I don't know, Bruce freaking Springsteen, the other guy whose money he looked after. And he looked after my pittance and Springsteen's gazillions and just freaking forgot to do my taxes one year.
It sucks. So yeah, they were actually really nice to me. They were helpful. It's the new IRS, you know. So they were never mean. They were like, no, we understand. You know, these things happen. I thought about suing the tax guy, but I thought, you know what, I could probably sue him in small claims court and win easily. You know, but number one, he's probably in prison right now. Number two,
yeah, he's not in much of a position to pay.
Yeah. The whole, you know, squeezing whatever from a turnip concept. So not worth my time. You know, I paid them their money. Hopefully they forgive me. They did tell me, they're like, hey, you should fill out this form and send us a letter and ask for abatement of the penalties. And you should get a $1,000 or $2,000 back because, you know, just explain that you're a first time offender. And I was like, oh God, that term hurts.
Oh, that's ugly. First time offender.
Yeah.
Oh man. So did you get any of it back?
I haven't done it yet. I need to do it because, you know.
Dude, do it. They take enough of your hard-earned blood, sweat, and tears so they can pay people like Paul Ryan to get nothing done. And you know what? You deserve every penny of that back. You got to remember to stay angry and fight for every last penny that is yours. When I was self-employed, which artists, musicians, guys in bands are, I really got a sense of what it was like to pay taxes. When it's taken out of the source, when you get your paycheck and you go, wow, this much was taken out. If I really look at the fine print, I can see how much is taken out. You don't really notice it. You don't feel the sting as much when it's taken out of the source. When you are an entrepreneur, when you're an independent contractor, when you're somebody who's an artist, a musician, a creative type that is self-employed, every April 15th, you have to hand over half your money, and it hurts. It really hurts. And you start going, what the hell is this going toward? Why is the pothole at the end of my road not fixed yet? This seems like freaking theft. I want to hold my elected officials accountable because I appear to be paying them an awful lot of my hard-earned money. It's an important thing. And they're like, well, we would like you to make monthly contributions. I was like, yeah, I bet you would. Not going to happen. So, yeah, get that money back. You have to. It's a matter of principle. But you know what? They make it so difficult. They make it such a humongous investment of your time. They make it all these things. But the good news is you are infinitely less likely to get audited this year than you have been in the past. I'm not encouraging you to take liberties when doing your taxes. Hear me on this one. Be honest as the day is long. You must be honest in these situations. However, you are significantly less likely to be audited in 2018 than I think pretty much ever before, much to Travis Golightly's chagrin. And we will get into why he just missed the cutoff point in a little bit. If you have any stories of taxation being theft, holler at your boy and let me know. It's a topic that is near and dear to my heart. At ADSXE is where you can tweet me.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio. 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
You know, during the break, Travis Golightly floated an interesting idea. You were talking about the fact that people like me in the past, not me now, but folks that paid taxes yearly, entrepreneurs, self-employed folks, artists, musicians, types like that, who really feel the sting of paying taxes because every April 15th, you got to write a check for half your money. You said everybody should pay taxes like that.
I think so. It's funny because what really made me think this was I went to church with a friend once, and this church, they had this setup where you could have them automatically deduct the tithes from your bank account. And later he told me, he goes, you know what I hate about that whole thing? I said, what's that? He goes, I think the whole point of tithing is that you're supposed to feel the pain of giving. And I said, you know, you got a really interesting point there. And so we started talking about taxes. And I said, you know, I kind of think taxes should be that way. So I think at least, maybe quarterly, maybe yearly, whatever, you should have to go down to a tax office and they should tell you each thing that you're paying for. They should say, you know what?
Oh my gosh. Sorry, I can't tell you how much I love this idea because people, like I said, when you have it taken out at source, when it's written on your check, but you don't really feel it because that money never hit your account and you don't have to experience giving away half of what you worked for every 12 months, you kind of just get numbed to the pain and you stop questioning and you stop going, oh, wait a second, these are my employees and why do they get to call the shots? I should maybe dig into this a little bit more. But yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the whole concept, and I'm not saying I'm for or against any of these things, but it's the whole concept that if you have to go down and a person behind a window tells you, okay, I need $158 for the war in Iraq, and you're like, hang on, what, $158? And they're like, yeah, and you have to give them the money. And then they're like, okay, I need $68 for the war in Afghanistan. And you're like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And they're like, okay, I need, I
can't tell you how much I love this idea.
Yeah, I need $123 for part of the entitlement program for the housing for people who can't afford housing, to subsidized housing program. And you're like, hang on, explain this program to me. And they start telling you about it, and you're like, and it's costing me how much? And they tell you, and you're like, fine. So you pay them the money, and they're like, okay, I need this much for food stamps. And you're like, hang on, I don't use most of what I'm paying for. How in the world? I just think that people, if they felt the pain of having to pay, literally having to shell out the money, they would start to think about the things that they're paying for.
We need $38,000 for Donald Trump's Kentucky Fried Chicken budget.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
You're not going to be surprised by this next one. But what the White House spends on toilet paper, it's a lot. It's really a lot. And you do not even want to know what the refrigerators on Air Force One are going to cost you. This one's, I'm going to be real with you, this one's going to hurt. I think that absolutely you should go down to some place and pay an itemized list of bills every day. I wrote down all the bills that I had to pay one month because most of them are automated, but I had to do this thing. I moved. So, you're like, do I have everything paid? Two things happened. One, I moved. Two, I swiped my credit card at a lemonade stand and they stole my information. I got this call from my credit card company the day later. Like, did you buy concert tickets to go see Maná in Mexico City? I was like, I would love if that was me because that sounds great. I'm a big fan of the work of Maná. Oye, mi amor is one of my favorite songs. Absolutely. But no, that wasn't me. Crap, I need a new credit card and now everything that I auto pay has got to be redone. And so I did this thing a little while ago where I wrote down every bill that I pay, and I was aghast for a second. I was like, how did it go? I used to be a kid that lived in a one-room apartment that put coins into a gas meter to get the heat to come on. How did this happen?
Ironically, I'm doing this same exact thing because I'm about to change jobs shipping deep sea. And so if I'm going to be gone and not have access to the internet for 3 or 4 months at a time, a friend of mine is going to help me, make sure that my bills get paid. So I'm literally going through and putting together like a Google Calendar for what bills, are due. And most of them are auto pay, but it's like, I just need to make sure that the money's in the accounts when they hit. So but as you discover these, as you put down what each bill is, you kind of sit there and scratch your head and you go, hang on, do I really need this? Why am I paying for this?
Exactly what happened to me, and I actually stopped paying for a couple things because of it. I was like, I don't need to pay this every month. I also don't need that every month. And what the hell is this? I don't even know what this is. Did I sign up for this through a third party app? With that, click no. And you might have a similar experience if you pay your taxes that way. Oh, put a line through this. This Paul Ryan guy doesn't seem to get anything done. Oh, he already quit. How handy. So I guess I don't have to pay for him. Fantastic. Well, he's really going to be checked out until they get a new Speaker of the House. It's not like he's going to be trying his hardest. He's going to be moving his stuff back to Wisconsin. And so I think I should pay less for him. Well, what do you mean I don't get to pay less for him? I think this is why your idea is freaking brilliant. But, that means transparency and accountability. And we all know our government, especially when it comes to taxes, not so big on that. No. Okay. I need to calm the hell down. My heart's beating faster. And if you get me started on the IRS, that's all we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about the IRS later. that part where we did get into why you're less likely to be audited this year than you have been in the past. Right now, though, I got to play you this thing. Did you know that Amazon Alexa, is a conspiracy theorist?
Really?
This is what happens when you ask Alexa about chemtrails.
Alexa, what's a chemtrail?
Chemtrail. Trails left by aircraft are actually chemical or biological agents deliberately sprayed at high altitudes for a purpose undisclosed to the general public in clandestine programs directed by government officials.
Uh-huh.
Holy
about
crap. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, that's Jeff Bezos at Works. Hold on. What are chemtrails again?
Alexa, what's a chemtrail?
Chemtrail. Trails left by aircraft are actually chemical or biological agents deliberately sprayed at high altitudes for a purpose undisclosed to the general public in clandestine programs directed by government officials.
I actually was curious to know if Google was in agreement, so I asked my Google Home. I was like, "What's a chemtrail?" And they were like, "Who do I look like to you, Alex Jones? Get your own tinfoil hat, weirdo." It was very strange. Google all of a sudden got an attitude with me on that one.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
You and I will discuss why you are less likely to get audited this year than ever before a little later on in the show. Right now, though, Travis, let's take a look at the events of today. What's going on in the news?
It took 55 days to shoot one battle scene for Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Apparently, the producers wouldn't let them stop until they made sure every woman in the scene showed at least one nipple. Have you been watching Game of Thrones? Is that a thing for you?
Oh, my God, man. I watched the first season, and it was absolutely amazing. And then I just ran out of time, and I couldn't keep up. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to wait until season 2 finishes. Then I'm going to binge watch it while season 3 happens. And I never did it again. So I do catch an episode every now and then, but like I'm not caught up on it. I need to somehow start from the beginning again.
This always happens with me and shows. Like I did the same thing. I watched the first season. I was like, that's good. There's a lot of work though. I'm just going to wait till it's all done, and then I'm just going to watch the whole thing. And you know what the problem with that is? I've found, you know why shows get canceled?
Oh, not enough people are watching them.
And you know why not enough people are watching them?
Because
they start
waiting
sucking.
for the end. Oh, because they start sucking. Gotcha.
They start sucking. Like I did the same thing with what's the zombie thing? Walking Dead. Everybody loves Walking Dead, or at least everybody did love Walking Dead. It was everybody's favorite show. And now people are just like, oh, they need to put this thing out of its misery. It sucks. So I thought I was just going to wait for it to end, then I'd watch the whole thing. But for the last few seasons, people have been going like, this sucks. This isn't worth it anymore. So now I've got no desire to get into a series that has like a lousy last few seasons. And the same thing happened with Dexter. Did you get into Dexter?
No, but ironically, my mom watches it, and she was telling me what a great show it was, and I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I watched like a couple seasons of Dexter. I was like, I'm going to wait for it to end. And everyone was like, ugh, it went south after a few seasons. And I was like, I don't know. It was so good. And I started watching it about 6 months ago, and I'd forgotten what had happened. So again, I had to start from the beginning. So I rewatched all of season 1, then got into season 2. And season 2 was a little hokey. And I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with it. Then I got into season 3 or I can't remember. But there was one point where I was like, no, there's other things to do with my life. There's better, like, I don't want to do it. This is like, I'm approaching watching Dexter like it's good for me and it'll pay off, but it's just a show that started to suck, and that's why it got canceled. So it's tough when you do that. What else?
Okay, let's see. David Schwimmer says not all cases of sexual misconduct are the same. There should be a, quote, quote, spectrum of bad behavior.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit the other day on the show. David Schwimmer, Ross from Friends, 90s TV star that you, me, all of us grew up watching, weighed in on the Me Too movement. This is a guy who's actually done a lot of work in the field of women's rights and female equality. So what he had to say about this actually surprised some folks. He said that not all cases of sexual misconduct are the same, and there should be, what did he call it? What do you call it?
A spectrum of bad behavior.
Yeah. Oh, also, he added that once and for all, it's okay to have sex with someone else when you and your girlfriend are on a break.
Yeah. I miss Friends. I miss it.
Go on.
Americans watch an average of 4 hours of TV per day.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand where they get that kind of time, quite frankly. I'm entirely too busy on Facebook.
Angelina Jolie and Queen Elizabeth will appear in a documentary about trees.
A documentary about trees, you say, with the Queen of England. Do you remember when we were growing up? I guess Angelina Jolie's probably about the same age as us, maybe a couple years older. But do you remember when Angelina Jolie used to be this crazy, dangerous, controversial figure who played parts like drug-addicted bisexual supermodels and predatorial evil witches that had really big racks and seductress spies and action heroes in short shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out next film project could not be more different. A documentary about trees with Queen Elizabeth. I'm already napping in anticipation. Go on.
Rapper Eve said that Janet Jackson came to her rescue when her drink was spiked at a party.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess Janet Jackson was just protecting Eve from all of those nasty boys.
JayZ says that it took years of therapy to repair his marriage after cheating.
You know, I saw that, and I feel like him and Beyonce just got married. Like, maybe I don't pay that close of attention to this sort of thing, but I thought it was because Travis is from Houston. I spent a good chunk of my life in Houston. So when Queen Beyonce got married to JayZ, it was kind of like the royal wedding in Houston. It was a big, big deal. And I just feel like that happened. I feel like it just happened yesterday. Yeah. Years of therapy. It just seems improbable that they were in years of therapy when it feels like they just got married. I don't know. Years of therapy. This is why I will never cheat. And also, no women want to have sex with me. But that's also why I cheat.
Small technicality.
Yeah. Go on.
Daniel Day-Lewis was recently spotted using a flip phone in New York City.
Well, it was Daniel Day-Lewis. So he was immediately awarded the Oscar for best use of a flip phone in New York City. Good for him. Did you see him in Lincoln? Did you see the Lincoln movie?
No, I didn't.
I mean, you got nothing to compare it to, obviously. But
yeah.
You really feel like he did a very compelling job of playing Abraham Lincoln. Like, it was something, man. He really looked like the photographs and drawings and paintings that we've seen of Abe Lincoln. Like, you just spend half the movie looking at him going, wow, that is something. That's something. Go on.
WWE superstar Goldust turns 49 today.
Yeah, he's the one whose sexuality was always in question. No, the other one. No, forget it. Doesn't really narrow it down, does it? It's funny, like, was it you? I can't remember if it was you or someone else I was talking to about this, where I mentioned the fact that wrestling is highly homoerotic, and you're like, really? I never thought of it like that.
That was me. That was me.
Bunch of muscular, greased up dudes wrapping their legs around each other's heads, and never struck you. And like, this gay friend of mine is a huge wrestling fan. I was like, really? Because this is not in line with the rest of the things he likes. He likes, going to concerts and fine wine and great food. And I was like, and you go to go to WWE wrestling matches. He's like, it goes back to when I was a kid, before I'd come out. I just, if you're a kid and you're gay and you haven't told anyone yet, watching WWE wrestling is a tremendous outlet. I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, I always thought it seemed kind of gay. He was like, dude, it is super duper gay. He was like, and I know, because I too am super duper gay. I was like, oh, well, all right. Fair enough.
It just never dawned on me. I don't know how. I don't know how it didn't. Okay. 2 Milwaukee reporters got into a fight at a Brewers game.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the process, did something truly newsworthy. They made a Brewers game interesting. Go on. No, the Brewers are fine. Yeah. I mean, the Mets are just on this incredible mad tear at the moment. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's insane. It's awesome. It's historical. It's freaking great. I'm so unbelievably happy. But if there's a team that I expect might give, well, no, I don't know. Who knows? I guess really what I'm doing is understanding that every team is somebody's favorite team, and the Mets have sucked a lot in the past, and I should take the rough with the smooth and be nice to other people's baseball teams. Okay, that was uncalled for. I will reserve my baseball barbs for the Nationals and the Nationals alone, and Chase Utley, because F that guy. Go on.
Investigators took Michael Cohen's computer, his phone, and personal finance records as part of a search.
Yeah. We don't know if he's guilty, but we do know that he must be incredibly bored now. No computer, no phone. Like, what the hell are you going to do with yourself? Right.
Michelle Obama says that Donald Trump is like a bad parent who lets his kids eat candy, stay up late, and break all of the rules.
That's funny because haven't the Obamas done a pretty sort of like stalwart job of trying to stay neutral, be like, well, no, we're out of it now. This is not I don't think they've personally called out Donald Trump before now. I think this is, what did she say about him? What were the exact words again?
She said he's like a bad parent who lets his kids eat candy, stay up late, and break all of the rules. No, man, I could not disagree more. That's 100% wrong. There's no basis in fact for we're talking about Donald Trump, who would never share his candy. Go on. Actually, should we get into the thing?
Oh, yeah, we should get into the thing about the thing. Why? Well, here's the thing. Taxes, they're due April 17th this year, coming up Tuesday. And like I said before, if that's news to you, it could be time to panic or just, file for an extension. But the good news is your chances of being audited are at the lowest they've been in 15 years. According to stats, historically low. According to stats from the IRS, only about 1 in 160 tax returns were audited last year. That's the lowest it's been since 2002. The highest was in 2010 and 2011 when 1 in every 90 people got audited. 1 in every 90. I didn't think an audit was that common. Like, do you think it's sort of like airplane security? Oh, this check is completely random. Or do you think they have to have a red flag to do it? Or do you think they just do it for sport?
I think there's both. I think there's random checks, and I think there's flags as well. But I think a lot of audits are also just computerized audits. I don't know that for a fact, but I think a lot of it it pulls it, analyzes it, and then either kicks it back or kicks it to a human for further investigation. But I could be wrong on that.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Half your refund's about to go. It could drop even lower because the IRS funding was slashed by about 8% last year, and over 7,000 auditing jobs were done away with. Now, if you're like me, hurrah, you think that's a fantastic idea. But whether you think it's a good idea or not, well, that's up for debate. But it does mean that you're probably less likely to get audited this time around. And that's fantastic. This is what the justice of an audit is based on. We have less employees, so you're free to go. Last year, we popped a bunch of people up to and including Travis Golightly, who has never done anything to harm anyone, has been a dutiful and borderline religious taxpayer who's been taught to respect and fear the IRS, but we popped him. But this year, we kind of don't have the money to do it, so you and you get to skate. What a bastion of high-quality American moral fiber they are.
You know what? I'll take it, though. I'll take it. I will skate no matter what kind of skating is allowed. I don't care what the reason.
But you didn't. That's the point. You got popped when you didn't deserve to. Actually, well, no, you didn't deserve to get popped. Your guy deserved to get popped. But anyways, if you made less than $200,000 last year, yay, that's all of us. If you made less than $200,000 last year, you have about a 0.6 chance of an audit compared to around 1% in 2011. If you made more than that, however, they're coming after you. But even the odds for people who made over $1 million are way, way down from 12% in 2011 to 4% now. So you're 1/3 as likely to get audited if you made $1 million this year than you were a few years back, which affects us not even a little bit, but it's interesting to know.